Thanks for tuning in to Written on the Edge, Season 8, Episode 12. In this week's episode, we'll be discussing Larry Altmayer's projects. That's right, we have an actor, producer, writer in the house. Then we'll be reviewing Masterpiece's Magpie Murders, the entire first season. So stick around. We're going to break this up into chapters so you can hop to your favorite part. All right, on to the interview. Larry Altmayer is an actor, writer, and producer living in the Los Angeles area. He grew up in Levittown, New York, and has also lived in D.C. Larry, welcome to the show.
Thank you. That was Levittown, New York. Okay.
Did I botch it? I'm so sorry.
That's okay. The infamous Levittown, but we
Evan,
digress.
yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah.
So, where did you get your start in your creative life?
Well, it began, I guess, when I was young. Yeah, when I was in seventh grade, my guidance counselor told me find a club, and I found the drama club. So, right. Fortunately, my father told me you're not going to be an actor. You can have it as a hobby, and I'm kind of glad he said that. So that was in seventh grade, and uh, through high school, I spent enough time that I was invited into the Thespian Society because I spent a lot of hours there. And during the first 20, let's see, in my job, I worked for the federal government for my career. I happen to have 2 degrees in statistics. Snore, right? But anyway, yeah, my whole career was at the Census Bureau, first statistician, then programmer, which a lot of people did. And it was the second part, especially, was more fun. But towards the end, I thought there has to be something better in life. Do what you always wanted to do. And that was it. I remembered my moment. It was in a hotel room in Chicago, talking to a friend from work at 2 a.m. I said it was my wait a minute moment, saying, maybe we should do this. I came back home and then began, talking to a close family member and started the slow process of moving out here to do this.
To pursue the dream.
Yeah. So, yeah.
There it is. So, you have 2 projects for us to discuss today. Which one would you like to start with?
Oh, well, I guess I can order.
Okay,
And I do have a quick digression.
sure.
These two are not the only 2 LGBT films I have done. I'm politically incorrect in that, it's QIA at the end now, or QIA plus whatever. And personally, I always stick with LGBT because I prefer fewer characters.
Sure.
Anyway, the first one I ever did was called Attraction, which is on my IMDb several years ago. My co-star, Jeremy Connors, he takes up most of the poster and he's really cute. So it
Well,
makes
there you
sense.
go.
Yeah, yeah. And whenever I've asked him, I have the feeling he's straight. Yeah. But whenever I've asked him, like, can I put you in a promo for Attraction? He says, wait, sure. I mean,
Nice.
we want the exposure. So anyway, that's the first one that I did. It's on YouTube. We don't have to talk about that much. I guess in chronological order, Favorite Son and then Silver Fox would make most sense.
All right.
So,
But
yeah, yeah. Uh, oh boy, what was it? The 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 thing about Favorite Son was it was kind of a surprise. Yeah, because about a year or so ago, I was switching computers and I ran across this script, Favorite Son by Larry Altmayer. I guess I wrote that. That's,
surprise.
I guess I did. Many actors have the fantasy of playing identical twins, and I've had that. This is one with identicals. So I learned about how they do that. The DP that we had for that, Becky Sapp, she was referred to me by my director, Dustin. And so I guess this might have been something she wanted to play around with. And so the budget was big enough for this one in the end, but it was very educational just doing the whole thing. Now, as I said, I ran across the script, read it. Dustin read it, and he said it's okay, but check with my other co-star, Gregory Blair. He said, check with Gregory. And I thought, well, yeah, we had both heard of Gregory. I never met him, but we were Facebook friends. He took it, and he took the script. I jokingly say that he destroyed it, but it's but he's a well-known actor writer in this area. So I said, Larry, shut up, use it, because all we care is that is that it gets exposure and it's successful. If it's successful in the end, I don't care what was done to it. So that's what I jokingly say. And we're both credited on IMDb, and it was a fun shoot with Gregory and Nico El Santo Zavero, my two co-stars in that. And yeah, filmed at a local studio that I had also used for Attraction many years ago that has a lot of stuff in it. So that was Favorite Son, and we are doing the film festival circuit this year.
Nice.
Yay.
So, a couple of deep dive questions. Did you write it while you were at the Census Bureau, and that's why your brain had completely forgotten it?
I don't think so. I think that I wrote it like 5 years. I've been in LA for like 11-ish years. I got here in October 2011. That's when
Hmm.
I got here. And I think that like a few years after I got here, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I think that I wrote it just, I sat down and wrote something. That's I believe that's the way it happened. So
That's fair.
yeah, so it's like the fact that I would have forgotten about it, I thought, well, that's interesting
Hmm.
because like Silver Fox, that had been in existence for a while, and it had sort of gone on a back burner. And Dustin, he said at some point, we're going to do this, and it ended up being done. With Silver Fox, we ended up getting Eric Roberts. I mean,
Wow.
everybody in this town. Well, yeah, it is very
Hmm.
impressive, but everybody in this town has worked with Eric Roberts. I know that's not the case, but it's like when you work with Eric Roberts, uh, you've made it. I mean, I think Nico has told me he's been on set with Eric Roberts millions of times, not millions of times, and Eric doesn't even know his name. He knows his face. It's just funny. So
Awesome.
I
Uh,
sorry,
to finish up with Favorite Son, you're doing the circuit,
with
and then will it be available for release? Will people be able to watch it?
they better be.
Get on it, people.
No, yeah, I guess I have to be careful in some of the things I say, but
Hmm.
um, like next April next year, it has to be available to everyone somehow. So Dustin is taking care of the film festival submissions. Monthly, I'm sending him an email saying, "What have you submitted to?" Just keep me a spreadsheet. So far, we have about 50 festivals he claims to have submitted to.
Okay.
And
Nice.
why did I say that? Never mind.
All right.
But anyway, and no yet. We're hoping for them.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's one of his favorites is Santa Barbara, which is a well-known festival.
Hmm.
Yeah, it
And
is.
yeah, and we submitted both to them, and they didn't make it. We would have heard.
Hmm.
And so over the year, I mean, we will be submitting to Outfest. That goes without saying. My own suspicion is there is not a chance that we'll get in there. I don't know if I should say that, but just, I mean, I know statistics, and I know that Outfest is very famous. It's very large. And when Nico talks about these two films, he says, Favorite Son is the gem. And I that's nice to hear. Silver Fox is, it's there, and it has Eric Roberts. Uh, we also have another in Silver Fox, Lisa Langlois. She's uh, she's another actress I met through another friend at an industry group I go to called The Table. And so I met Lisa through that. And I'd seen Lisa in a Lifetime thriller many years ago. So it was a thrill to act opposite her in Silver Fox also. But Eric Roberts is the name everyone would know. So I'm sorry, I just digressed. So
No
It's all
worries.
right. Should we move? Should we move on to talking about Silver Fox?
yeah, Silver Fox. I knew I'd written that several years ago, kind of an autobiographical thing, um, piece, kind of somebody coming to terms with their sexuality, that kind of thing. Married for several years, but that was the original storyline. And then last year, I was talking to Dustin, and he said, "We want to get Eric Roberts in here, write another role for him." I don't consider myself a screenwriter. And but I sat down one day, you know, scene with Eric and Lisa that I think Lisa loved. I mean, it was, you know, a bedroom scene, you know, it was not, you know, it was after the fact. So it was, nothing was happening, but I figured that was an audience attention getter. And so I wrote a few extra scenes in there to put him in. I think he read it and he said, yeah, this looks good. Who's this guy, Larry Altmayer? And I thought, well, my name was in front of him for 2 minutes. That's good.
Mhm.
There you go.
Yeah. And so it was a thrill being with Eric on set. I know that it's funny. I am starstruck. You know, when you get to my age, you know, there's certain things you do, certain things you don't do. And I've run into people on the street. I ran into what is it, Jane Lynch. I ran into her on a Studio City street one time in a crosswalk, and I thought, oh, I gotta do this. I turned around. Are you Jane Lynch? Yeah. I loved your work on Glee. Thank you. Goodbye. That was it. I saw her the next week in the post office, and I left her alone. So it's anyway. But with Eric, when I got onto set with him that day, I checked his IMDb and I said something to him. I made a comment about another. He's played this. Eric has played this role, Dr. Beck. It's a dual role. It's a thriller where he's a villain. I've seen a few of his movies, and in one of them, he was working with this up and coming actress, Anna Marie Dobbins, I think. I've seen her in a few things. They did a dance sequence in this, and I commented on that because I'd seen the movie. And I was like, how did you do that? He made some comment, but he also has a cat or two, which I also have. So I said to him, like, I saw you have some cats on your, you know, and he says, what is this, an interrogation? It was in a room of people. And I said to him, look, this is on your IMDb. This is where I got this. So that's where the question comes from, with that kind of attitude. No, but he was fun to work with. He really he's a hoot, as the cliche goes. So yeah, it was nice working with him, and the whole experience was nice, educational, and you know, an actor loves to be on set.
Mhm.
I haven't been enough, but you know, I'm working towards that.
Right.
So
And I
uh,
would like to commend you for writing the stories to have sets to be on.
Yes,
yeah, well,
absolutely.
we know in this business, in this world, but especially in this business, they say you have to be a multi-hyphenate.
Mhm.
That's that's the thing. And so, you know, I produced or whatever, and part of my personalities have come out. I mean, you know, I am introverted. Yeah, I mean, sometimes in a group, although it's, you know, but I thought, you know, you have to work with people. You have to get these projects out so that people can hopefully see them.
Right. Right. All right. Anything else you'd like to say about either film?
Just that we hope there'll be some place next year that people can see them. YouTube, Vimeo, if they can get on Amazon or something, that would be great. We don't know about that yet. Uh, um, yeah, so I guess any guidance that I get from colleagues, I will be listening to because uh, hopefully they'll be on some easily accessible venue to see. Yeah.
Perfect.
Should also look
All
at
right.
some of the we've had a screenwriter on our show, and he did a series that's called Demon Hunter, and he eventually went to one of the queer streamers, and that's where he
Mhm,
got his work put out there. So you know, you might want to consider some of the queer streaming services.
mhm. Uh, anything like that. Dustin has said, you know, all of this, you know, queer, gay venues like that, uh, you know, we are going for those also. So,
Perfect.
yeah, I myself, the generation that I am, when we were growing up, queer was a bad word, but we know queer is not a bad word anymore. It's just interesting how language evolves. To me, I
Yeah.
usually say LGBT, whatever.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The young reclaiming the word me off guard big time. I was like, no,
Thank you.
that's a bully word.
Yeah, I mean, you know, with blacks, there was another word that you
Hmm.
would never say. And anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, who knows? Oh boy. Yeah.
So I know you teased us that you're applying to the film circuit. What else are you working on? What's coming up from you?
Um, let's see. Nothing written. I mean, I guess, yeah, nothing written right now. I mean, it's, what is it? I mean, like with any actor, I mean, I do have an acting coach, and who's I guess I'm between managers right now. I have an agent at the moment. I would like to get a manager again because they're the ones who can get you um, important auditions. Um, Ones like, I mean, I had my I had one with Blackish many years ago
Hmm.
that I it may have gone off, but it was a manager I had not communicated with in a year. So I got a text one night saying, "Be at this studio tomorrow at 1 p.m." for Blackish. And I thought, okay. And it was it was a nice audition, but it's really I'm trying to do things to get more auditions because I'm going for the break.
Hmm.
That's why we're all here.
Hmm.
And will I sit down one day and write another project? Maybe. I think I kind of like to shy away at the moment from LGBT stuff only because of the let's see one two I've written or co-written 4 short films now. 3 of them are LGBT, and I think they're all thriller. Because The Teacher's Plan was the first one when I first got here. That's also sci-fi, and so I think I just like to go into a different genre if I did write again. But I don't love writing. It's something you should do. So
Fair enough.
but going for the break and exposure is uh, it's important in this business. That's why when I got the email yesterday, oh, did I apply to wrote podcast? I guess, yep, sounds good. So,
Nice. Which
and
social media would be best for people to follow, especially to find out if Favorite Son or Silver Fox get into a festival?
yeah, so I mean, I put a I put a blast out on Instagram and Facebook last night. I've gotten so many people seeing it. I don't know with hashtags, if a lot more people see it on Facebook. I am public because I thought you have to be public, for and it. I mean, there was a podcast that's just joining, and I think last night on Instagram, they said, uh, you know, let us promote it. I checked their follower ratio, and they had about 5 or 10 followers.
Hmm.
And I thought, okay, they started last week, so it doesn't hurt to be on there, but it's not like it's going to get a lot of traffic.
Well, I will tell you, YouTube is always, where this will appear eventually. YouTube is really, even the big YouTube channels, they constantly have to remind people to subscribe. They constantly tell people that the ratio of actual views to their number of subscribers is way off, and the analytics often tell us that people watch but they don't necessarily subscribe, yet they'll keep coming back to episode after episode, but they're not subscribing. And so it's a constant battle when you're doing these things. Like, we just launched last year for the first time on YouTube. We have 6 years prior that are all audio that we do quite well in. But in starting up YouTube, it's a challenge to get people to sign on to those things and to subscribe. Just pressing that little button is a bit of a struggle. So they could have 5 official followers, but they may have hundreds of views on some of their videos. The ratio is really weird.
That's what counts, the number of views, obviously. And is there a way to know the number of views?
Oh yeah, if you're on YouTube, you have analytics that tell you how many views you're getting per video and stuff. But like I said, the downside is that your followers don't necessarily indicate number of views, because it can be much lower, and often it is, because even big channels, they're saying, please subscribe, so it's something that every channel struggles with.
Yeah, but you're saying the analytics are what'll tell you the view. So
yep.
So no, it's YouTube is it's where to be. So when you went onto YouTube, that was good.
All right, so Facebook, you are Larry Altmayer 1. and Instagram, Larry Altmayer.
Yeah, and I was going to say for IMDb, I do have a vanity URL. That number in there, it's imdb.me/Larry Altmayer with
Perfect.
correct name spelling. I think that'll get people to my IMDb page. But what you have there is correct. Yeah. So in right. So the same instructions, because we're on Zoom, that you gave them before for getting up the other platform apply here.
We'll give you 2 more seconds. So,
Okay.
folks, we'd like to extend a huge thank you to Larry Altmayer for being with us today and sharing his projects.
Thank you for having me.
Watch your film festival listings. Look for Favorite Son or Silver Fox. Follow Larry, see what he's up to. Follow his future projects. They may not be LGBT, but they will be good. Now, on to our review. Our review this week comes to us from Magpie Murders. That's right, a PBS special, 6 episodes called Magpie Murders. The writer, editor, which is important.
Yes.
Editor Susan Rayland gets drawn into a web of intrigue and murder when she receives Alan Conway's unfinished manuscript of an Atticus Pund mystery. Dun dun dun.
You know, the reason I recommended this is because Vance and I are both writers, both queer writers. And this story is about a gay author who writes a murder mystery series that's highly successful. And he absolutely hates that it's successful because he always wanted to write nonfiction, historical, important works, and nobody was interested.
He
and
wanted
the
to be
reason
the next Solomon Rushdie.
Right. And the thing is, I also liked it because since we're both writers, I like the fact that the editor, played wonderfully by Leslie Manville, who I just adore in every movie she's in. I don't care what she plays. If she's in it, I'm there for it. For people who don't know, she was in Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris this past year, and just love her. Anyway, and this is a very different role for her. She does a lot of period pieces, but this was, definitely in the here and now. And she played a slightly different character. And it was nice to see her do something a little bit different than the mousy wife and Topsy Turvy, or, so it just was nice to see her do something different. But as an editor, she's reading the story, and you get to see the story played out with a cast of actors, some of whom are in the here and now, and you find out through the course of it that it's because the gay writer liked to torture people in his private life, his personal life, by casting them as characters that he could poke fun at in the Atticus Pund mysteries. So that's why I recommended it to Vance. One, because it had a gay thread in it, but also because as writers, I knew he might appreciate the fact that there were these parallel tracks that served each other. So what did you think of it?
I enjoyed it immensely. I also, because we have the Masterpiece or the PBS Passport, I got to see all the making of interviews.
Oh,
and
cool.
So the author, Horowitz, yeah, so after each one, Horowitz did like a 10 to 15 minute interview where he talked about an aspect of telling this whole story. And the 2 things he was super careful about is, one, he understands that visually, when you read a novel or when you read a mystery, all the clues are in there because they can be just sort of slipped into the exposition.
Right.
But when you portray it on a screen, you have to be super careful about showing it in such a way that the audience doesn't realize you've shown it.
Yes.
And so, not to give anything away, but there is a book fair early on that has a placard that you need to really pay attention to, and you wouldn't because the characters just walk right past it.
But
it's important. It's super important. So little things like that he was super aware of. But the other thing he really, really, really enjoyed that he got to play with was, like Baz said, most of the characters in Alan Conway's life made it into his books as other characters. The only 2 in this story that did not have counterparts, which is important, are Leslie Manville's character, Susan Ryland, the editor, and Atticus Pund, the detective, because they actually entered each other's stories as each other. So while
it was also the pies. The pies were not,
the pies were not. But Susan is trying to, one, find the missing chapter because it was written, but missing. But also, she gets wrapped up in who killed Alan Conway. Meanwhile,
At
Atticus
first,
is
I think it's
solving.
a suicide.
At first, it looks like a suicide. Meanwhile, in the novel, Atticus is, of course, trying to solve a series of murders that revolve around an estate. And as the editor Susan is reading this, she's talking to him. He's talking to her about the events in her life, and so they get to enter each other's worlds, and that was beautifully done and really well crafted, and just a joy to watch.
Yeah, she's marvelous in this. I mean, I just want more of her. I find her to be such a fascinating character actress. And when I saw this one, and I just took a chance on it when I saw it go by, and I'm like, oh, I like her. I'm gonna watch this just to see what it's about. And to find out it had a gay thread and everything in it, and it was just really, really an amazing ride into looking into a writer's life and the publishing world and independent presses and what they're under, and and so it had all the aspects that authors experience in the course of it, even having people that you meet because you write, you meet other aspiring writers, and things get messy there too if you're not careful because everybody's in creative mode. And so it's really interesting. I like the way that all of that played out. I also liked that you could see who he was poking fun at because they would appear in the period piece, which takes place in the 50s, I
50s.
think.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
pretty clear about the 50s.
And so you get this aspect of the 50s, and you see the actors cross over into the ones that he's poking fun at in the period piece. That's the story. But Atticus Pund often, and I also liked how all the characters, when something was happening in her life, the characters would react to it as if it happened in the story, like a knock on the door. And you see the characters all turn their
Mm-hmm.
head, yet it's not in the book. It was what was happening in um, uh, Susan, the editor. It was her life that was causing it to happen. So, and I like the overlap of
Yeah.
her boyfriend had a very mysterious connection, and so did her sister. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's all these elements floating around that all are tied, intimately tied to what happened. But Susan doesn't see it because she's so focused on getting the last chapter so she can publish this book. And you get all this convoluted back and forth stuff, and she's getting frustrated the further she gets into it, until it all starts to come together in the final episode. And I was like, girl, come on. She just went in there, she just started wrapping up what she figured out, and I'm like going, girl, look at the mirror, look what's going on. Look around you. Even I saw
Mm-hmm.
that coming. I'm like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, I had my slight suspicions of who is the culprit um from early on, but I set it aside. Sidebar. But I set it aside because I wanted to enjoy the journey. So rather than just try to piece it together right away, because I often get a feeling in mysteries, and I'm usually pretty good
Mm-hmm.
about it. But at this one, I just wanted to set it aside because I wanted to see what Susan was going to go through, and I wanted to pay attention to her. And so when I did that, and it came up, and it ended up being the person who I thought it was, I wasn't disappointed because the journey was so much fun to get to that point. So I really
Yep.
loved it. I
Mm-hmm.
highly recommend it. I had my sister and mom watch it. They loved it. So if you're a mystery lover, if you like movies or stories about authors writing, this is right up that alley. You get to see a period piece and a modern piece at the same time in parallel. It's got so many things working for it that
Yep.
I couldn't see any major negatives. So So for me, I'm just going to say, let's get to our ratings. I'm going to say it's fives across the board because I loved this series. And I really hope that there's a way that they could do something with her character, even though it looks like she's going to Crete with Andreas, her boyfriend, in the end. I kind of would like it if because I mean, she could literally do the editing from Crete too. I mean, they can send her a freaking file. She can print the pages as well. So I kind of would like to see if something happens and her character can continue to have a story, because I really liked Susan. I really liked her. She was somebody I would have had as a friend. I think that that's one of the things I like about her the most, is that she made her really accessible. She's flawed. She has her quirks and things that, but she, like any of us, she just is a likable character, and you root from her from the very beginning. So your thoughts, your ratings?
Fives across the board. It would be a stretch for them to be able to continue it. Because one, the Alan Conway, the writer who wrote, 8 best-selling novels against his will. What a horrible problem to have.
I know, right?
He's dead.
Smite me with that.
I know. Susan looks like she's leaving publishing at the end. It's kind of one of those, she just went through all this stuff. She's making some decisions. Kind of looks like she's leaving publishing. So it'd be really, really difficult for this story to continue in any way.
Yeah, I guess it could.
I enjoyed it.
But we know that series have done goofier shit.
True. However, Horowitz, who wrote it, is going to continue working with Masterpiece Mysteries. He's probably just going to tell us a new story.
Hey,
because that's what he was talking about. Was that
cool.
He was very glad. He's very proud of this one. Loved it. Loved doing it. Loved working with it. He put himself in as an Easter egg. He's walking through the village at one point. And he's looking forward to doing another one with them. So expect another story from this creator, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be a continuation of this one.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know. I just really liked it. I highly recommend it. It's 6 episodes, so it's doable like over a weekend in a binge. You can separate it out and watch it between meals or whatever. Yeah. That guy right there. But I think if I remember right, my husband and I watched all 6 episodes in one go. We started like at noon and we're done by dinner time. So it's definitely doable. But yeah, total fun, a blast. And I liked the fact that the gay thread was there, and I loved seeing Matthew Beard again. I really love him as an actor, so it was nice to see him play a queer character who kind of was like, oh, I'm so over all of this, just let me get back to London, kids.
Yep.
Anyways, so yes, definitely check it out. It does have a queer thread in it. And go ahead.
Just to follow up with Matthew Beard, in the historic novel that they're reading / editing, he plays the Watson character.
Yes.
Also, very well done, because he's the unreliable narrator, and he does it really well.
Yes. And the other thing I liked too was there's a play on what you believe to be racism, but it is something else. And that was a lovely twist, a very lovely twist. And so this series has some surprises that are just amazing. Anyways, yeah, highly recommend it. Definitely go watch it. So let's go on to what are we on about?
I don't want to say politics, but that's kind of all I've been watching.
I know, it's a shit show.
Our nation, it is. I look at our nation and I'm like, wow, we are the meanest people to each other on this planet.
Yeah. I mean, without sounding like I would ever agree with Major League Turd Sheen, is what I call her. Sounding like I agree with her. I mean, you kind of get to the summation of like, I don't know that red and blue states could ever become purple, at least not for a long while. There's some real fucked up shit going on, so.
And here's the thing: most states internally are divided red-blue. Like, you can look at it on a map pretty clearly.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm on about this week. It appears that the Trevor Project is going through some growing pains and some issues with conservatives hounding the switchboard, clogging it up with fake calls and rants and derision and all kinds of things. And so the operators at a very, very vital for our community switchboard, who is there to help kids who are troubled and may possibly want to attempt suicide, they're there to be there for them and find resources for them to get them help. And Trevor Project has been around for a long ass time, at least 3 decades, if I remember right. And it's just really unfortunate. And of course, that libs of TikTok, that twat that's out there doing it. And I'm sorry, she is a twat. I'm just going to call it, because she goes out there and it stirs up the hatred on TikTok and gets people to do these things. She actually tweeted or put out in her Twitter or her TikToker news timeline that Trevor Project was a grooming organization, which just is so abhorrent. She has since deleted it from pressure from all around. So, but the fact that she put it out there, so that's what stirred up the hornet's nest, and that's why they're dealing with it. So now the call center workers are looking to unionize because there was evidently a slight scandal with the guy who was running it. And so it got ramped up way too fast. There wasn't enough training. There were issues. There were growing pains. And so Trevor Project's going through some issues right now. Keep a warm thought for them, because they do provide a very vital service for our community. So yeah. Second thing I'm on about, Milo Fuckatopoulos, that idiot grifter right winger who was at one time working for a Major League Turd Sheen. He has since decided that he is working really hard on just being celibate, because his whole thing being with a woman just didn't work out. And he's figured out that he's a true hard, dyed-in-the-wool misogynist. So there you go. There you go. Truly awful people out there, And it's funny. I've been watching a lot of the conservatives out there, and I got reminded of a line from the musical 1776, where John Adams is railing against the conservatives in Congress, in the Continental Congress.
So, you cool, considerate men, you hang to the rear on every issue so that if we should go under, you'll still remain afloat.
I used to kind of be okay with conservatives, because I thought, somebody should be out here questioning liberal concepts and stuff and pointing out. Great, I have no problem with that. But unless you're a conservative like Michael Steele, who I respect, who actually it works with the other side, and he is focused on our democracy now, and so unless you're a conservative of that brand, don't come at me, because I'm gonna be up in your grill so hard your mama's gonna feel it. So that's where I am with the politics stuff. And Milo Yapa Fuckatopoulos, or whatever the hell his name is, he can just bite it. And the last thing that I'm on about is actually who won my week. So as we record this on a Monday at 9 o'clock Pacific time, Prime Video just dropped the first trailer for Mrs. Maisel season 5. Girl, it's gonna be good. And Esther has lines. Little baby Esther has lines. Because there's so much talking. And Mrs. Maisel goes, "Kid, you're in the wrong family." Or boy, you were born in the wrong family. So I'm like, kids are growing up.
Yeah.
So
they do
there's
that.
There's only one brief glimpse that I'm not sure what the hell it was about. And there was like a bomb went off or something. A building was
Mm.
damage or whatever. And I'm like, what the hell was that about? It flashes by, but I'm like, is that Joel's club? I mean, that's what I immediately went to, so I don't know.
Joel's
It's
club or
going to be
Susie's
interesting.
office.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
except that it didn't really look like her office was in any kind of danger. And she was up in
okay,
Broadway near Times Square, remember? Because the
right.
back of it looks into Times Square.
Mhm.
So I don't think so. I think she's in that Flatiron building. I think that's
Mm.
where her office is located. This was like in a more ethnic area
Okay.
looking part of New York. So I'm wondering if it's something happened with the arrangement with the Chinese or something going down. So, but that's the only thing I'm worried about. But yeah, I am who won my week. Just seeing that trailer brightened my week because I'm like, the gang is back one last time. And Milo Ventimiglia, I can never say his last name. Apologies,
Ventimiglia.
Milo. Yeah, there you go. Him. He actually is in the trailer. So I'm like, oh, is he back? So
Interesting.
there too. Yeah. So just a brief sequence. It's at the subway, but good to see him. So be interesting to see how it all wraps up. And I guess Susie is riding high because she's suddenly visiting tailors and getting tailored suits. So you see her game come up, so all good things all the way around. So looking forward to that. That starts April 17th. And we will definitely cover it for a review. You, what have you got for who won the week?
I don't know if I have a win. I am really happy that there are people able to bring the tyrants to justice because Putin is officially a war criminal now. And Trump, they're coming for him.
Lock him up.
Yeah, right. And I am just glad that our checks and balance systems are still strong enough to bring these tyrants to some form of justice.
Mm-hmm. I saw that,
I don't know if that's a
when
win.
he visited Mariupol, that somebody heckled him while he was there.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you got balls.
Yeah, no kidding.
I was like,
no
whoa.
kidding.
Was it a babushka? Was she throwing sunflower seeds?
Yeah, like I said,
I wouldn't put it past him. I've seen those babushkas.
Oh yeah, no, I know. Like I said, I don't know if it's a win necessarily. I don't even know if it's the brightest point of my week, but I'm glad that's still a capable thing it's still able to be done.
Yeah. What do you think? Just before we go, what do you think is going to happen with your state and the Supreme Court? How's it looking on your end?
I do not know.
Because kids, just an FYI, April is a big month for our Wisconsin, for fences.
Yeah.
It's going to be a make or break for the next 10 years for that state. And luckily, the person who came out on top in the primary is the person we want to win. So just got to make it happen again. So Wisconsinites out there, my father was born in that state. Get your butts to the polls and do your duty. It matters. It's going to matter on the national level too. So it matters.
Yes, it will. 100%.
Yep.
That sounds like words of wisdom.
Well, that's what I got right now.
No, officially, those are wise words. But it's important.
I'm glad. At this early in the morning, I'm not having my coffee yet. So.
Really?
Yeah, no, I'm not having
You're
coffee.
very animated for not having had your coffee.
It's because I'm still tired.
Nice. All right, folks, Written on the Edge is produced by Rogue Ravens Media. For our disclaimers, links to social media, our listen stations, or to sign up as a guest, visit www.roguepodcast.com. If you enjoy learning about new artists like Larry Altmayer, please like and subscribe so you get the alerts for new episodes. And tune in next week for your queer media fix.
Bye now.
And see, that one wasn't creepy. I liked that one.
What's that? Closing time. The bums rush in melody, dear.